Hello everyone, today we are back for another Henry Mohamed Steel game, and this is between a player that needs no introduction, Vassily Ivanchuk. And this game was played at the 2011 Fide World Cup. And let's dive into the game. We have e4, e5, and a scotch with a bishop c5. And okay, knight b3 isn't really a main move that I see so often in my games. Usually I see either knight takes c6, which I play queen f6 to, a line I play a lot, and or bishop e3 defending that knight, but also queen f6 is fine. Knight b3 walks out of these ideas for the time being and just hits that bishop. That bishop goes bishop b4 check, and now you see if white decides to defend the pawn with the check with one of the knights, then his position becomes overcrowded. Going with the bishop could result to queen h4, and okay, black's bishop is still defended, and white needs to worry about e4 now suddenly. I like black quite a lot in this position. So instead in the game, c3. So bishop b4 check provokes the move c3 before going back to e7. And you start wondering, okay, what's Ivanchuk's idea? And you see that, okay, well, now the pieces need to go via d2 if they want to develop. And stuff could be a bit overcrowded. The c3 square is now in the way. So quite a nice move. Bishop f4 develops, d6, another developing move, bishop d3. And I was really surprised to see that dark square bishop move again, bishop g5. It's his fourth move, and his point is basically that you don't really want to trade this bishop because of the weakness on g2, and castling to get rid of it is going to walk to bishop h3, defending it with queen f3, and simply another retreating bishop move, bishop to d7, and you see this knight is coming to e5, the queen is awkward on f3, the h pawn advances, black can castle queenside, it's looking pretty good for black. So after the move bishop g5, the bishop's fourth move, just simply bishop g3, getting it out of the way. And now Vassily plays a novelty, knight e5, centralizing this knight and walking into f4. Knight takes d3 check, queen takes, and now the bishop moves for the fifth time back to e7. But e7 is a wonderful square for this bishop in the game. You'll see later on why this is so. This knight develops via d2, and we can see that the knights are a bit awkward now. This one has become the most awkward. Could walk into tempo with c5 or something, but whatever. Knight f6 and h3. Black castles, and maybe pause and ask yourself which side would you castle to if you were white, because this is a bit of a long-term strategic idea, which side you castle to. And okay, white decided to go queenside, and kingside to my mind would be something I'd play, and actually something that Henry would play as well more often than queenside castles in these types of positions. So it was interesting that he went queenside, which is way more sharper, walking into a5 immediately. Bishop f2, making room for that g4 pawn to advance, and bishop e6. And the point is now that a4 is going to pick up that a2 pawn, so king b1 opening the c1 square for the knight, and the move c5. So both sides launching their attacks on each other's kings with their pawns. Now, when I went over the game, I thought g4 seemed a bit more natural than what Henry did immediately. He went f5 immediately, basically using the tempo that he has in this position. But g4, you're not using that tempo immediately, but you're saying that I can play g5 one day if I want to, and then f5 is coming with tempo, and then I can get f6. So this is why I like g4 a bit more than going f5, because now g4 is still a while away, and black actually, he's fine putting his bishop on d7. He's going to bring it to c6, as you'll see in the game, and be quite happy about his control of the position. g4. Now, this is what you guys saw from the thumbnail. These pawns are advancing up the board. But how does Ivanchuk deal with this? Simply attack on the other side of the board. a4, pushing this knight backwards. Knight c1 and bishop c6, centralizing a piece, putting it on a great diagonal. Just not complaining about the pawns that are advancing to his king. g5, white's coming forward, but knight d7. And here, Vasily's point is pretty simple. f6 is a bit of a weak move now, because after trading, my bishop gets to f6, and actually black can be on the offensive. Stuff like rook g8, just simply king h8, and going after this pawn in the center. This is now black's point. He's very strong on this dark square diagonal. You need to do something about this, and probably c3 is hanging, and the queen's also coming to f6. Black's king is perfectly safe. White's king is definitely in a bit of trouble. So very fantastic move. Instead after knight d7, which walked away, Henry just goes h4. He tries to get these pawns even further up, just defends that pawn on g5. And we have rook e8 from Vassily. A very calm move, making a square for that bishop on f8. Now f6 could probably even just be met by bishop f8. And rook hg1. He wants to play f6 with more threats in mind. But now Vassily goes for the center. When your opponent attacks on the flank, you go for the center. d5. And we see bishop g3. Bishop g3 is not a move I like so much. I think it was also the start of the game going a bit awry for Henry. Bishop g3 was looking at the move knight e5 and trying to keep it away. The problem with bishop g3 is that c4 comes with tempo for black, and it pushes the queen back to c7, and now black can recapture whenever he feels like it. Instead, in the game, capturing instead of bishop g3 after d5, capturing on d5 immediately, and allowing the knight e5 maneuver, pushing your queen to c7. After this pawn is recaptured, however, you yourself get the move c4. And okay, maybe black has got some play, but this pawn on c4 is a big commodity in white's position and helps him defend the position way better than what happened in the game. So after the d5, bishop g3, Vassily did play c4. We saw the move queen c2, but now black has got the pawn on c4, and white's position is very cramped. Vassily just launches his attack on the queen side with a3, and you need to play b3. C takes, knight takes, d takes, and bishop f8. This is now the bishop's sixth move of the game, and he's very happy on f8. It's stopping a lot of back rank ideas. Now we have knight takes e4. Henry didn't immediately pick up that pawn, and now Vassily plays rook a4. We can kind of see the meaning of the move a3 now. He doesn't just play the move to open up the king a bit, he plays it with the intention of bringing in his other rook into the game. A very creative maneuver, rook a4. This knight needs to go somewhere, knight f2, and he's got a concrete way of getting his pieces into the game now with knight c5. And he could probably trade, but still decides to go f6 now. f6 is calmly met by g6, and rook d1 going after a file, but simply this queen taking another file that's now available to it. Now the move knight d4, holding onto some pieces, and bishop d7. Now Vassily sets up a little bit of a trap and of the queen on the king through rook takes d4 followed by bishop f5. So this needs to be stopped. King a1, and now Vassily's queen enters the position with tempo. Queen e3, bishop h2, rook c4 going after this very weak pawn. And this is probably the biggest difference in the two positions. Black doesn't need to worry about the back rank anymore, and he's got a very visible target, this c3 square. His pieces are also more active and capable of getting at the white king, all because of the simple c4 move earlier on in the game. And okay, Henry tries trading queens, but this does drop the pawn on c3. He now goes knight b3. Instead of knight b3, bishop f4 really just shuts this rook out of the third rank, and maneuvering on the third rank isn't really possible. And trying to go for the skewer, then the bishop actually is quite happy on the square e3. So you need to try something else as black. You can repeat the position, but I don't think you really want to draw. So knight e6 in this position would be playing for more in the position. And after this trade, white can try his ideas on the 8th rank for the first time, because this bishop on f4 is now guarding that c1 square from the back rank. Black is probably just fine trading rooks and allowing this king to escape. He will probably still be able to win this endgame. Something like h4 is actually quite a nice move in black's camp, or even h6, forcing the matters. Because if this pawn is taken, then simply just king h7. So in the game, instead of all of this, you have the move, instead of bishop f4, you have the move knight b3. And this is really just the start of the end, and Vassily's conversion of this game is just simply brilliant. Bishop a4, going after that piece, realizing the back rank isn't really falling or anything. Bishop e5, rook c4, stepping out of trouble, and a takes b3. Now rook takes h4, going for a second pawn. Rook d1, trying to do something with that file, but Vassily calculates here that the back rank is never an issue. After the move knight a5, bishop d6, which would be the threat to open up that back rank, you can simply trade those bishops and go knight c6, covering the 8th rank. And now Vassily just goes for a simple way to convert the position. He's planned his rook d4, but he goes rook f4 first, just getting rid of that knight his home and just displacing it for the time being to d3 and then rook d4. The rook trades cannot be avoided. Rook takes d4, knight takes, knight e5, and he starts running his king to the queen side. And after the move knight e5, knight e6, white always needs to guard this pawn via the f3 square, or his knight is kind of pinned down now, and black's king is entering the position. He can even just leave that b7 pawn there as a type of a detour for white to first complete before he can start playing on the king side. And this should be a very easy position for black to convert. Just one final move of the game, king d8, and this king is free, and it's game over, and Henry knows it. Thank you guys for watching, and please go watch other games of Henry Steel. I'm sure you will enjoy them. Okay, thanks.